For topic 6, we want to show that a vector is not in the span of a set of vectors. And what this topic basically means is that we're trying to show that the augmented matrix of two vectors, such as v1 and v2, and b has no solution. Or we can write this out as a linear combination where x1 v1 plus x2 v2 is equal to b has no solution, where x1 and x2 are just the weights of the vectors. So as an example here, we have a span of two vectors, v1 and v2, and we have a b vector, and we're trying to show that the b vector is not in the set of span of v1 and v2. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to turn these two vectors along with b into an augmented matrix. And in order to row reduce this, we're first going to scale this by negative 1/3 by the first row, in which we get this matrix, and then we add row 3 to negative 2 times row 1, and we actually get this matrix. We switch row 2 and row 3, and we end up with this matrix. And what we do here is we actually scale this by negative 3/7 by row 2, and the next matrix we get is this matrix. And what we do here is we have to now backface so that the first row is subtracted by 5/3 of the second row, in which we get this matrix in order to cancel these values out, this value out. And we end up with this matrix, and what we have to do now is we have to turn this pivot into a 1, so we divide it by 2, but we'll see later that this is actually not a pivot column, so that the solution actually has no solution. And what we do here is row 1 minus 3 times row 3 in order to cancel this one out. And then we end up all the way at this matrix, and as you can see at the bottom of the row, we have a row in which the last value of the column is not a pivot. So we know that 0 times x1 plus 0 times x2 is not equal to 1. Therefore, there is no solution. And since there is no solution, we know that b is not in the span of v1 and v2.